Welcome or welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. I'm so glad that you're joining me for these messages. It just brings me so much joy to read your cards. Speaking of, my calendar is now open for personal readings. The link for that is in the description below. Of course, anything you could ever want to know about this reading is going to be in the description below. And honestly, that's really all I have. I'm not even sure what decks we're going to be using yet. I just started getting that poking feeling last night to start putting out messages again. So that's what we're going to do. And this is probably the quickest intro I've ever done, but let's get into it. Great. So, well, let's see who's next. First, So, in the past, I've usually had, like a website or some sort of something, a little blurb, that gives you some information on your profile. And this time I didn't. And then when I realized that, I went out looking. And there is a ton of great information out there on all things human design. But for whatever reason, there just wasn't really anything that was just kind of hitting the spot with me this time. So I'm just kind of trusting that for whatever reason, that's not a big part of the message this time around. But for the 2-5 profile, that you have that second line, Hermit on the conscious side. So, just this need to be by yourself, be comfortable in your own space. There's also a natural talent or aptitude that comes with the second line, and people may project onto you something that they see in you, like, oh, you're so good at blue blam bloom, or you would make such a great whatever. And, the second line, they need that recognition from other people to help see that genius within themselves. But of course, too, it could create a bit of paranoia, especially if it's something that you're not even interested in. So, there's kind of this dance between trying to find your own inner genius, talent, and it may even just be something that you don't even recognize as being that, because it's just something that comes naturally to you. But other people are just like, oh my gosh, look at this, And then you have the 5th line projection on the design side, and that comes with interpersonal karma. So it's like you need other people, or you need to interact with other people. So it's just kind of interesting, the polarity between the second line and the 5th line. Like the second line wanting to be alone and in your own space, giving yourself time to regenerate. And then the 5th line, universalizing, providing practical solutions. And people may project onto your 5th line that like a savior thing, or like a hero thing. Like you could really step in and save the day with this. And if it's not correct for you, and if you do it anyway, then you kind of have that double projection thing of, being burned at the stake, which sounds a bit extreme, of course, but that's kind of how it feels, right? And if you've had that happen a few times, you know what I'm talking about. I'm a 5-1, so I have that 5th line on the conscious side, so I get it. But it's also one of those things too, like once you have discovered your your inner calling. And it is something that you would need to discover. You have a talent to deliver solutions to others whenever your strategy and authority kind of gives you the green light to do so. You know, your strategy and authority is going to help you enter into experiences that are correct for you. And then your profile is how you interact with the experiences. So they definitely go hand in hand. And of course, those are only two aspects of human design. There's a lot more, but just as a general overview, I know I've been shuffling these cards for a while, and there's been cards that have fallen out, but we just need one card for the overall vibe for our 2 5s. We have inspiration and courage. Love that. This just feels like very fiery to me. I mean, of course, there's all these candles, so there's that. And the red, the orange, right? I mean, it's like root chakra, sacral, solar plexus. Those could be areas that you are focusing on. The purple could be third eye with the crystal ball on the table. Okay. We're not going to take those because that was operator error. We just need six tarot cards. There's a ton of spirals on here too. I know that there's a meaning for spirals. There's just a lot of different, the path leading from our outer consciousness to inner soul, the journey through life, cycle of rebirth. That's not what I'm like thinking of though. I just can't like pull it down from my consciousness. You might even know what I'm maybe referring to. Like, how are all of these things all saying the same thing? I wonder if the book says anything. Hello. Duh. Let's just see if the book says anything about. It doesn't necessarily say anything. It does talk about patterns of behavior, though. Life is full of challenges. Some of them we take on willingly. Some of them come out of nowhere when we least expect them. Good or bad, happy or sad, all of those things that challenge us give us the opportunity to grow stronger, to push our boundaries and move out of our comfort zones, to reach deep inside or reach out towards others. Whether you are seeking inspiration for work or play, or dealing with illness or grief, don't underestimate the power of your own thoughts. Yeah, I mean, you could be almost like lost in a spiral. It's also too how you look at a spiral. I promise I'll get off of this spiral thing in a second. Because there's a couple things. It's like, that unalome, if you've ever seen that symbol, it talks about the journey of life, but basically like the journey of ascension. And there is generally, a spiral or some sort of spiral-esque shape involved with that. But also it's like perspective. If you're looking at a spiral in the 2D like we are on this card, then it looks like just a flat, object. But if it were in the 3D, then it's almost like, and I might try to include just a picture really quick, like overlay, if I remember. But it's like if it were in the 3D, if there was a 3D model of the spiral, then it would almost be like going up. So there's this thing about don't spiral, evolve. Like instead of getting lost in like a whirlpool or within that spiral, and especially if it's something that's going on within your head, then it's, there's this opportunity to evolve. How many? This is exactly the amount of cards that we need. So, okay. Beautiful. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Magician, Ten of Wands, Knight of Cups, Three of Wands, and the Knight of Swords. Look how many knights we have here. Let me make sure everything is in here. Okay. The only knight that we don't have out here is the Knight of Wands, which is interesting. And honestly, that would have been effing crazy if we would have had all 4 knights out here. That's literally never happened before. I don't even think I've ever had 3. Anyway, so knights talk about, they bring information. They could bring messages. And like, they're the ones that are actually out there doing the work. Right? Like, they could be younger, like 20s, early 30s, but it's like they aren't quite green in the sense that like they're not quite beginners, but they're not quite pros either. Like they haven't obviously reached queen or king status. So let's just start from the beginning. We start with the Knight of Pentacles. And what's interesting is that the Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight in the whole deck. So it's kind of funny because in this depiction, they're on their broom. And it's like it like going through the motions because they're still on the ground. Like they still have one foot on the ground. I just heard failure to launch. It also appears that the wind is blowing in the opposite direction than what they're trying to go in. They have tools here. They have this one big pentacle. There's this energy, like, it's like there could be something that you have been trying to do, and maybe that's where this inspiration and courage thing comes from, because maybe you're scared. And it's like, when you're in that frame of mind, like when you are in the spiral, right? When you're in that frame of mind, then it's like you will look for and you will find evidence to support every single reason why you shouldn't do something, or that it's not the right time, or I don't have A, B, or C. Like I need to wait until I acquire this, or until I have this much money, or until I know about whatever the thing is. Also, I mean, it could be something that you have been working on for an extended period of time. This could literally even be too about even figuring out what do you want to do next in your life. Regardless of how old you are, there is a sense of newness, or it's like the nervousness that comes with starting something new, trying something new. We have the Knight of Cups here, which is an offer. So, I mean, you could be wanting to offer somebody something, with cups. I mean, clearly there's all these hearts coming out of this cup here. You could be trying to offer your cup to somebody, like by sharing how you feel about them in a romantic sense. This could be literally any type of offer. And with it paired with the Knight of Pentacles, it could be work related or how you make your money. It's so interesting, the similarities, but also the differences between these two cards. They both have their element or whatever, outstretched. This could even be a bit daydreamy. But, we have this shark down here. neither one of these, the cat and this person are not concerned at all by any danger, any potential threat. That's very interesting. Water, of course, earth. Also, even too, like how those two things go together. There's this supporting thing here. So it's like you need to have the practical, but also a bit of the delusion. And then we have the magician. And I love that the magician is in the middle of the reading here. The magician says that you have everything that you need in order to get started with a thing. They have one of every element. And if you don't have it, or if you think you don't have it, it would show up to you when you needed it. And this middle row feels like the inspiration and the courage, because this feels like, to me, the inspiration. This feels like the courage. And again, these knights are flying towards these cards. And it's like these cards, the figure is kind of pointing towards the knight also, which is just really kind of fascinating to me. The magician is a number 1, so it is a new beginning. It's the card that comes right after the Fool card. The Fool is when you decide to make the leap. The magician is like, okay, now that I've made that decision, what skills can I draw upon to manifest this? It's a lot of planning too, which is the Two of Wands. This could even be what you have been attempting to do for some time. And then with the Two of Wands, they're holding the world in their hand. It's literally like the sky is the limit. You really could choose anything. Wands are about action, communication. With the Two of Wands here, it's like, okay, so with the Ace of Wands, there was already that spark. There was something that ignited already in you, clearly, because we have 2 knights to start. And with it paired with the magician also, this is again like deciding what actions you're going to take. How are you going to communicate your desires, your creativity, your ideas? This could even be, that if you were waiting for something, then it's like both of them come in around the same time. A message or some sort of information about money or an investment or something monetary. And then there's this offer. But it's like both of these things are coming in at the same time, which is allowing you to move forward. The Ten of Wands is about burden and being overwhelmed. I mean, we could see on this card that they are climbing uphill, straining a bit in their face. But it is a 10. So the 10 says that the burden is over. There's a completion. And it's moving forward now. I always say the Ten of Wands as being, like the experiences that you picked up along the way. Because again, Wands having to do with action. So it's when we actually try something, and when we do try something, or we communicate with people, or, get our hands dirty with something, then we pick up information, we pick up experience, we pick up wisdom. So it's taking all of that you learned, and we have the Knight of Swords here, swords having to do with our minds, our thoughts, truth, honesty. It's ego also, because that's generally where we hear our ego is in our minds. And this is the fastest moving knight in the deck. So we start with the slowest, we end with the fastest. This is somebody who may be a bit impulsive, but it's also like putting a new idea into practice. There's this determination on their face. This poor cat is like, holy crap. all these birds are moving out of the way. They're like forging forward. So it's like, again, these two things come in. Inspiration and courage here in the middle, because once they do come in, and if you've been waiting for it for some time, you might have even just gotten comfortable waiting for it. You might have gotten comfortable, maybe even in the thought that it's not going to happen, or, even being stuck in the daydream of what's possible. And now that they come in, it's like, oh, it's go time. Like, so now we have these things that we've been waiting for. We have everything we need to get going now. Now it's time to plan. Okay, we've already been in the cycle of considering it. So what are we going to do to move forward? How do we want to do this? That would break the cycle of, like feeling overwhelmed or burdened. This could even be like asking for help or delegating things. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't necessarily feel that, but throwing it out there. But with it being a 10, it is some level of completion. So this feeling of waiting, going uphill, it's over. And now this Knight of Swords is going to forge ahead. And then we have the Sun card at the bottom of the deck, which is bliss, joy. It's every good feeling you could possibly have. There's a community element to it. This figure is pregnant, so there's even maybe like a reproduction in the sense of creating more opportunity, creating more potential for joy or bliss. I mean, it could be literal pregnancy if that's something that, it's like it creates the possibility for that. The Seven of Wands, standing your ground, not giving up. I always see these 6 wands down here as being other people's projections. And you have that 5th line, even with the 2nd line, like we were talking about, but you have the 5th line too. So you kind of have this double projection field. And this I always see as other people's projections, like their fears, their doubts, their reasons why not to do a thing a certain way. And then this figure is like, I didn't even ask for your opinion. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. But we have the 4 of Swords behind there. And this talks about rest. So it's like, even this, if this is a dream that you've been holding on to for some time, then it would say that this energy of having to hold on to it, it's like you could finally rest. You can finally rest your mind. Get out of that, kind of cyclical, whatever energy that, again, with the spiral, right? Like the spiraling that our minds tend to do. The Page of Swords is, new ideas. They have books here. It could be continuing education or learning more about a subject of interest and introducing that into whatever you're doing. The 6 of Wands is success. It's recognition. It's success after a battle, basically. And I love too that it even comes after the 7 of Wands, because 7 of Wands, we go to the 4 of Swords where you can rest. And then we have this card of success here. The Tower would be blowing up old stuff, old structures, an old life, an old pattern of thinking. It definitely feels like things are starting to move forward here. And even if they don't feel that way yet, it is coming. It has to, because that's exactly what this message is saying. And I am going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.